All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to do a load board video here, and we're going to be focusing on dry van today. Um, I don't know much about dry vans, so I'm going to have to learn. So first thing first, I like to look at what the averages are. So if we look over here at DAT, this is just DAT.com. We go over to resources, blogs, and once a week they put out their DAT market update. And we can scroll down here and look at the three equipment types. And this gives us a heat map, where is hot, and also um, what hot means is it's the load to truck ratio. So how many loads versus how many trucks are in that area. So that right now it's saying in van, the Pacific Northwest, there's lots of loads and no trucks. Doesn't necessarily mean you want to go there, but and then in flatbed, like typical, the south, south of the Mason-Dixon, east of the Mississippi is always good. And this is saying all the way into basically Texas is good too. So and then reefer, I don't know anything about reefer, but let's click on dry van here. This gives us the map we were just looking at here. Ironically, Central Florida says it's hot. Like I said, it doesn't mean the rates are good. It just means that there's lots of loads per truck. Okay, so what I like to look at here is, where is the number? So this number here. So dry van line haul rates. It went down 2 cents. Last week it was $1.72. It went down 2 cents right when we're getting ready to go into holidays. That's interesting. It should be going up. $1.70 a mile, guys. For this is loads excluding 550-mile load and shorter. So this is 550 length of haul and longer. $1.70 a mile. That's not very good, guys. Now this is saying for the top 50 lanes, it's $2 a mile. The problem is that the top 50 lanes don't connect to each other, right? So there's no way to get back to one of the top 50 lanes unless you take something for $1.20. So the top 50 lanes doesn't do us much good. And then this is saying the 13 key Midwest states average $1.94. So effectively, if you stayed in the 13 key Midwest states, which I don't know, they don't explain what those 13 states are, but if we stay in the Midwest, I think everybody knows that dry van, for me, I know flatbed for the South is kind of the hot market, and for dry van, we know the Midwest is the hot market. So if we stay in the Midwest, we might be able to make $1.94. Okay, so let's switch over to the Truckstop. This is just truckstop.com, and we can get. Now this is early on Friday. It is a little before 6 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time. So that would be a little before 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And this is just the loads that have been posted so far today. So there's 24,000 flatbed loads posted so far today. There's 14,000 dry van loads posted so far today, 6,800 reefer loads. And this is the posted rate for all of the flatbed loads and all of the dry van loads. So yeah. Now this number is always higher than the DAT number because it doesn't exclude the short hauls. So it's not looking at 550 length of haul and above. It's just looking at all of them. So let's go to the load board, see what we can do. We're going to start in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And before I started the video, I looked around a little bit, and I saw this one. And I already wrote this one down on my piece of paper here. So we're just going to go ahead and take this one because I want to see what Florida's doing. We saw how that was on the map. It said it was red. So let's go there hypothetically and see what it's doing. So this load is a little unusual. It's 25,000 pounds. That's pretty decent. It stops in Waycross, Georgia, though, by tomorrow. This is Friday, so I don't know. I guess by Saturday. This wouldn't be a good load on Friday, to be honest with you, but we're going to not think about the time of the week and just take it. This is with a good broker, an A-rated broker, and pretty good rate, but we do have to make a stop. So basically it means we won't be able to get unloaded. Yeah, like I said, we're not going to consider the weekend right now. Let's just look at the rate. So I already wrote that down on my notebook here. So let's go to DLand, Florida, DeLand, Florida, however they say it, and look around and see what our options are then. Now I've got it searching by rate per mile because we're trying to keep it tight. We're trying to keep it short, especially coming out of Florida. We don't want to go long coming out of Florida because if we do, let's take a peek and see what we got. We could go to Utah for $1.27. That probably wouldn't pay the bills, especially when it's 42,000 pounds, right? That probably wouldn't work out. We could go to South Dakota for $1.24. That probably wouldn't work out. Oh, here's a really good one. Under $1 to go to Utah. That's pretty light, but by the time you pay a driver wage and your fuel bill, you've paid more than that. So that would not be a good choice. Texas and El Paso is, again, I'm not used to van, but if I was flatbed, El Paso is a no-go. That's a dead area. So this is why we wouldn't want to go long out of Florida, because the rates are horrible. So if we're going to take a horrible rate, we got to keep it short. That's my policy. And I think that probably would translate over from flatbed into dry van, I would assume. So we want to take something short so we don't hurt as much. So we can go up to Albany for $1.26. Let's see, go over to Arkansas. That's a pretty long load at a low rate, so that's probably not going to work. We want to keep it short if we got to go low. Wait a minute. We're not seeing any better loads. Are you serious? Those are the best loads out of Florida? What's going on here? Friday. Before I started the video, I looked around and there was more loads than this. What happened? What happened, guys? Let's extend our deadhead a little bit. Jacksonville to deeper into Florida. That probably won't work. Well, this one might be a salvation load. Going over to North Carolina, Jacksonville to North Carolina, 109-mile deadhead from where we went. Now, I'm still running the Load Hunter Chrome extension. So this number you see here, $1.43, that is with the 109-mile deadhead. So if you look here, if we take the 109-mile deadhead out, it goes to $1.78. 10,000 pounds, going up to North Carolina. They're a good broker. Yeah, we could probably take that one. I'm not seeing any better loads. So let's just, it really is pretty bad. I mean, probably that load, that high dollar load that we just took going down to Florida wasn't worth it. I knew that was probably the case, but I wanted to look. $1.60 to go to Colorado, that just doesn't make any sense, guys. So none of this stuff makes any sense. Nashville. You know what? I think I would prefer the Nashville market in flatbed, that's for sure, but I'm not sure how North Carolina is for dry van. So let's do the Nashville market instead of, that's 40,000 pounds, so that's a little heavier for sure. But we've also got a Virginia. We've got some New Jersey, but that's going a little longer. We want to keep it short when we have to do a low rate. Indiana would be a good market, but it's a little too low of a rate for that long of a distance. let's see. Yeah, let's take that Nashville. I think I like the Nashville better. Where'd it go? Where did it go? Nashville. Okay. Looks like there's no notes in there that would stop us. So let's go ahead and I'll write this down. Take a second to write this down on my notebook. Okay. Got it written down on my notebook. So we've got 109 mile deadhead and 597 mile loaded miles. So we've got that written down. So now let's go look in Nashville. Okay. We've got a high pan rate here with a company that I don't know. That's the interesting thing. When you switch equipment types, you get all sorts of brokers that you've never heard of before. This HD's shipping solutions, I've never even seen them on the load board. They probably do van freight and not flatbed freight, so I've never seen them. So this is interesting. It's almost $4 a mile. I'm tempted to say this is there's probably something wrong with this. This is probably because look, they're paying $1,050. The average is $828. It's not that much over. So this might just be they've got to get it out Friday because today's Friday. So this just might be, a little higher rate to make sure it gets out on Friday. And it's a low paying load. So a lot of carriers don't like, me included, don't like to take a low paying load on Friday. Why take something that goes 260 miles on a Friday when your driver is going to be there by Friday night and can't deliver because he's going to be there late on Friday night, right? In other words, he'd be there bright and early Saturday morning, can't deliver until Monday possibly in this case. So because of the week, this may not be a good load. It's a damn good rate though. So let's look around and see if there's anything that back down to Georgia is paying the best, it looks like. So we've got, in case you guys can't see the numbers, we've got going down to Morrow, Georgia for $393 with my deadhead, which is 0 because it's Nashville. And then we've got going over to Tennessee with 150 mile deadhead. It comes out to $210. Going over to Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, with my deadhead of 44, it comes out to $275. Picking up in Clarksville, Tennessee, going to LaGrange, I think that's how you say it, LaGrange, Georgia for $269. That's Armstrong Transportation. Okay. So everything going to Georgia is paying pretty well, guys. Let's see if there's something going back down to South Carolina. Everything's going the Carolinas or Georgia. Here's a little longer load, which could, considering it's Friday, I might choose that one just because it's longer. It would get the driver more miles, more hours under his, because we pay by the hour typically. So this would fill up basically all of Saturday because it's 560 miles plus the 123. So this one might actually be better it definitely would be better for the driver, and it does put more money in the carrier's pocket. Instead of it being $1,010, it's $1,369, and both of those would finish out on Monday. And this one's 10,000 pounds. So this one might be a better one for the carrier and for the drive, certainly for the driver. General goods, it's pretty light. Only problem is I don't think Mobile's a very good van market. It would be a good flatbed market. That's a pretty good market for flatbed down there. Since this is a learning curve for me, let's go ahead and take that one just because that would be better for the driver. And we get to experience the Mobile market. So, And what's the average on this one? 15.25. So actually, we might have some negotiating power here. This is a good broker. I think pretty sure we've worked for them before. So I'd probably call them up, and they've got. I'd probably ask for. I'd see if we could get up into the 14.50, 14.75. I mean, we might go ahead and just say, look, the average is 15.25. Can you get us that? And negotiate from there and see what happens. But we could probably get it up to 14 for sure. It's only going to take what, $31 to get us over 14. So, but let's just write down what the average is. Okay, let me take a second here and write this one down. Okay, I'm back at it here. So we've got that written down. 1369 for 123 mile deadhead plus the 569 loaded. Now let's go look over in Mobile. Mobile, Alabama. Fascinating. So anytime we get over $4 a mile, that's kind of a no-brainer because you can come right back to where you were for still over 2, empty. So that's okay. So this is why. Stops over in Louisiana, which is the other direction, right? Picks up in Mobile, goes over to Louisiana, then goes back to, so that's not going to probably work out. But let's go ahead and let's see here. What's the name of that city? I guess we got to put the same in there. So the nice thing about the Chrome extension I use is it gives us this little button here, which is the map button. We can click that and it opens up a Google Maps. And then we can go ahead and put in the city that wasn't calculated in. So now we see what it's 977 miles for $2,000. So it's not $4 a mile anymore, is it? So that's a no-go. Now, North Carolina, is this also going to be, yeah, this is also a stop over there. Gosh, guys, got to run the opposite direction. So here's a Hattiesburg, Mississippi to Montgomery, Alabama, open road. They're a good company. Pretty low revenue, but we're over $2 a mile with our deadhead. So that could be a good salvation load to get us out of here. Ooh, this one's even better. This is a bigger load. Let's see. Okay, we've got a deadhead down to New Orleans, but even with our deadhead of 144 miles, we're still over 208. Going up to Atlanta, basically. Yeah, that's a good load. They're a good broker, an A-rated broker. So, and I don't see any notes in here that would make it a problem. It's pretty heavy for van, but that could be a good load. So let's go ahead and take that load. It's over $1,000 a day. It's a good one. Okay, let me go ahead and write this down real quick, guys. Okay, I've got it written down. $1,200 for 144 mile deadhead, and then $432 on the loaded. So now let's go ahead and copy and paste right here. Put this one in over here, and we're going to look out of Georgia now, see what we got available to us. Now this is not a perfect system because we're looking all on today, right? And these loads wouldn't connect all today, obviously. And then we might be picking up higher paying loads today because it's Friday. You know, when you do these tests, you just have to understand what's going on here. So here's a pretty nice paying load going to a good market. I suspect there's something that's wrong with this one. No box trucks. Multi-stop. Okay. They don't give us the multi-stop, so we can't really do math when we don't know where it's going, you know, because it could be like, you know, 2 stops in South Dakota and then back to, you know what I mean? So we're not going to look at that one because it could be good, and I don't mind doing multi-stop in the van. When I was running van last year, I did a fair amount of multi-stop loads because it does increase your rate, and there's no extra work in the dry van, for multi-stop. You just back into a door. So, but if we don't know where it's going, then we can't do the math on the miles. So, of course, everything paying really good is going to Florida. So we're going to have to weed through all these Florida loads. Holy cow. Here's one going over to South Carolina. That hits what we want it to hit, right? It's over $1,000 a day. It's over $2 a mile with our deadhead included. It's 25,000 pounds, which is a bonus because it's a little light. So that one would be good. We're probably going to come back to that one. Let's take a peek and see what we got. Everything's going to Florida. Here's something going up to Tennessee. This one, where'd it go? Here it is. This one would probably meet, doesn't quite do much on the revenue at 850, but it's over 2, and it's going to Tennessee, which I'm just stuck in this flatbed mindset where Tennessee's better than South Carolina. So, this one might work out better in the long run than the South Carolina one, even though it's 250. Yeah, $250 less in revenue. Because we want to be able to try to get over $5,000 in a week. Ideally, that's hard to do when you're staying short like this in the dry van. But we do want to look for high revenue loads, not just high rate per mile loads. Because what keeps the company doors open is the revenue, not necessarily the rate per mile always. So Jacksonville, Florida, that's over, that one hits the number also, but again, I don't think Jacksonville, Florida is going to be a very good market, so we'd probably take a hit the next time. So let's keep looking here. Like I said, we probably go back to that South Carolina one. Well, here's a decent one. Louisiana. I'm not sure how Louisiana is for van, but this is pretty good on the revenue, pretty good on the rate per mile. It's a good company. It's pretty doggone heavy. So that one could be good going to Louisiana. What part of Louisiana is that in? Oops, down by New Orleans. So that would probably be a pretty good market. Let's take that one because it's a good broker, and I'm curious how Louisiana is for dry van. So let's just give it a go. What's going on here? Why? Okay. All right. I'm going to write this one down real quick, and then I'll get back to it. Okay, got that written down. 1350, 107 mile deadhead, and 469 loaded miles. Sorry, 496 loaded miles. So now we're going to be looking over in Robert, Louisiana. See how many loads we have available to us. Interesting, guys. First one here, Grand Prairie, Texas. Very good rate. Good broker. Let's see, needs 2017 trailer or newer. We don't have that. And it's a round trip, so that's not very good. Okay. Auto parts. All right, so we can't do that. We don't have that new of a trailer. And it's a round trip, so honestly, I wouldn't want to do it anyway. Meaning we have to do double the miles for that same rate. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's almost $3 a mile. Even if it was $3 a mile, that's $1.50. I mean, what are they doing? No, that doesn't make any sense. Now, it would be more if we didn't have the 120. If you were in, Brookhaven, Mississippi, then it might look better to you. Let's see. What would it look at if we just took that deadhead miles? Oh, wait a minute. That's saying 90. It's only 337. If it was $4 a mile, then the round trip starts to make a little more sense. Okay, so here's Louisiana to Kentucky. Wow. Big level logistics. They're a B. Never heard of them before. Extra stops, a lot of them. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3 extra stops. Oh, let's do the math on this, because I can kind of tell you guys how I do multi-stops. Now, this is what I do in the flatbed situation, but I'm going to translate it over. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here and pull open the maps, and we're going to go back to this site here, and we're going to, this first stop would be here. Oh my Lord, Ohio. Well, I guess that's just the state up from. Okay, that might, depending on where it's at, that could be okay. Oh, that's of course already in there. My bad, guys. Let's see here. So the first stop, that's the pick. Wait a minute. Extra stop in, well, wait a minute. That's where it's picking up at. So that means we got to pick up there and then make a stop there. Is that what that's telling us? I think that's what that's telling us. Then the next stop would be up in Ohio. So let's put this in. Ooh, that's a lot further, guys. I don't know. This might not pan out. Then the next stop is where? Florence. Which is okay. So what are they? Okay, maybe it wasn't. So Florence is the delivery city. So, or yeah. So I guess it's only an extra. This is confusing. I don't know if they mean extra stop. Pretty sure they're spelling it out here. Extra stop in the same pickup city that we're picking up in. So there's a stop there, then Millersburg, Ohio, then the final. Or are they saying there's 2 stops in Florence? I'm a little confused. We'd have to call and make sure. But for the mapping, it's not going to matter because crosstown is no miles according to the map. So we're going to get rid of that because we already have Florence in there. So this would be the proper mileage, with the exception of a few miles around town, with our extra pickup down here in Louisiana and possibly an extra drop-off. It's looking like there could be 2 drop-offs in Florence. So what I do is I take the DAT average, which is $2 for that lane, starting in Louisiana, ending in Kentucky. The average is $2, and I'll times that by the mileage when we get done with all of our stops, which is 1,275 times 2. That's 2,510. Then I put an extra 150 per stop. So we know we have at least an extra pickup here, so that's a stop. Then we have an extra pickup in Ohio, that's a stop. And then the one down here, if it's only one, is free. So we're going to add an extra $300 for the stop in Ohio and the extra stop in Mississippi or Louisiana. So add an extra 300. That puts us at 2,850. So that's my rule of thumb for for multi-stops. We do the total miles. You know what? I messed up here because we can't consider our deadhead in this. We have to look at just the loaded. I'm sorry, guys. I messed up. So it's 1227 times the $2 a mile, which is what DAT says the average is. That's 2454. Then we add the $300 for the stops, and we're 2754. So that puts us at, that's what we'd need to bid this load out at, is 2754. They've got 2400 on it. So what I've discovered, again, I'm new to vans, so this might not be true, but when you're dealing with multi-stops, they're kind of throwing a price out there. There might be a lot of flexibility here. So I'd probably go ahead and call on this one and say, look, you know, my policy is for extra stops is 150, and then, you know, I'll just explain. I have nothing to hide from brokers. You know, this is what I look at. If I go from point A to point B, I should be getting the same mileage rate here for that lane because I'm going to start and end in the same spot. And whatever we do in between needs to be times by that mileage rate. Plus, we need an extra stop pay because I pay drivers hourly to wait at docks. And so we can't guarantee that it's going to be 15-minute dock time, right? It might be a 2-hour dock time or a 3-hour dock time, a 4-hour dock time. So that's what I do for the flatbed. 150 for no tarps, 200 for tarps. So I might start to reevaluate that 150. Maybe I put it at 100 for extra stops in the dry van. But that's just what I've done in the past, so we're going to continue to do that. So that load should pay $27.50. If I took it, I'd want $27.50 on that one. But so that kind of explains that. So I don't think we're going to take that one though, because you know, I'd have to call them and see if they can boost the rate by $350. That might be a hard sell. So although it's multi-stop, so a lot of times they have some flexibility there. But let's not, for the calculation, for what we're doing here on the piece of paper on our notebook, let's not take stuff that we don't know. Let's just take stuff that is advertised. So Theodore to, I think that's fairly short into Florida. Where's that? Yes, that is over by Jacksonville. That's not very far into Florida, but it doesn't pay very much over the 2, so that's probably not going to work. We already took this load. That was the load we took that load already, so let's not take it again, because it's the only one. I can't double up on it. Here's one going up to, this is a good broker. We've worked for them before. Palletized oil. Lubricants, okay. Going up to Birmingham area. Now, if I was in the flatbed, I'd be saying yes to this one for sure. Birmingham's a great spot for flatbed, but may or may not be all that good for. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this load. I feel like this should be a good load. Stop. Okay, I'm going to write this one down. Give me a second, guys. Okay, we got that one written down. We've got $1,150 for 56-mile deadhead and a 418-mile loaded miles. This hits what we wanted it to hit, over $1,000 a day. We're over $2 a mile, and the weight's pretty heavy, but hey, whatever. So we're going to be looking now in Alabama and see how the Alabama market's doing. All right, guys, I'm going to pause the video. I got to go get a refresher on the coffee. All right, got some nice hot coffee. All right, so we're looking over here in Alabama, right? Did I push the search button? Yes, I did. Okay, we're looking over here in Alabama. Let's see what we got. That seems like, is that one we already saw? This seems a little too good to be true, because the average is 730 and they're saying 1,500. So this could be a drop trailer. Oh, multi-stop. Yeah, we'd already see this one. Sorry, guys. Confused me. All right. Florida. Everything's going to be Florida for the high rate. Now, that's because I'm searching by rate per mile highest. So we're, of course, picking up the highest rate per mile first, which is Florida. Here's in North Carolina. Don't know this broker. They are a C-rated broker, so that's good. Pretty heavy load. That could be something we come back to. That would accomplish the goal. $1,200, over $2 a mile, and you know, the weight's heavy, but so that's not a bonus. So we look at weight just as kind of a bonus. We don't really, you know, we can haul lots of weight. It doesn't really matter. We do get better fuel mileage when we haul lower weight, but you know, better fuel mileage only adds, you know, 2, 3, 4 cents a mile on the expense column, so it doesn't make up for, you know, going down to $1.80 from $2.30, for example, to take something that has less weight to it. Here's a South Carolina. So this could be interesting because this could get us back to Orangeburg. Yeah, Orangeburg's right here. One pick, two drops. Okay, so in this case, let's let's do this math again to see how my my rule of thumb works. So we're going to close this and close this, close that. We're going to open a new map with those parameters in there, and we are going to look in Woodruff. Is that how you say it? And we're going to get rid of this because remember we can't look at our deadhead, unfortunately. We want to, but for the oops, what happened? Dang it, guys. It didn't move. Okay, so the first stop is here. Then the second stop is there, and is that what all it was? It was just, yeah, it was two stops. New small tractors need 10 ratchet straps. That'd be a fun load. What's the weight on it? Where's the weight? 20,000 pounds. Yeah, normally tractors are light. Okay, so what are we looking at for mileage? So our total miles with the drop would be 443, and DAT says that load should pay 233 per mile. So we've got 233 times 443. That puts us at 1,032 plus the extra 150. Wait a minute. So 1182 is what that should pay. Yeah, look at that. They have it advertised for right at what my policy says. 110 cargo insurance. I have 120. I have 250 cargo insurance. So, yeah, there's no reason not to work for this. This is actually one of my top 10 brokers too, King of Freight. So, we do a lot of flatbed stuff for them. So, yeah, this would be perfect, guys. We would probably take this. Let's go ahead and, in this case, we could take it because the posted rate is what we would, I could technically do it for a little less than posted rate. Now, again, that doesn't cover our deadhead. When I do these multi-stop loads, I don't look at my deadhead because we can't exactly charge them the rate per mile for all the miles when DAT says it should pay 230. But that's without deadhead, right? That's not with 100-mile deadhead built in. So that's why I used that number. So that was without our deadhead. But this number here that it gives us, the 232, that includes our deadhead. So we're still doing good on our, on our actual load. But what I'm saying is when I look at how to bid the load, I don't look at deadhead because we can't really charge the broker for how far we are away from his load. Okay, so let me write this down real quick, and we'll probably end it here because that puts us back in South Carolina where we could deadhead back to where we started and finish out like a full hitch. Okay, let me take a second to write this down. Okay, I got that written down. $1,200 for 105 loaded or deadhead miles and 400 and oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, guys. Nope, it's not 412 loaded because we got the extra stop. 443 loaded miles. Okay, so that'll complete our hitch. Let's just, well, wait a minute, hang on. I forgot something. We started in Orangeburg, so let's deadhead back to Orangeburg. Okay, so plus the deadhead back 109 miles, so plus 109 miles. So now that last load has 105 empty miles, then 443 loaded miles, then 109 empty miles to get back to where we started, assuming that's home. Okay. So let me calculate the all the dollars, all the miles, and I'll get back to the video and we'll go over what we were able to do for that hitch. All right. Okay, that puts us at a total dollar amount of $8,919. And now let's do the miles. Okay, so total miles of 4,220 miles. Okay, so let's see what we did here. So we've got $8,919 divided by 4,220 miles. That puts us at 211, guys. Wow. So that put us 211. That's an interesting number. We did quite well. So the question is normally when I do these mock tests, we come out a little better than we can do in the real world because I get the ability to take whatever load is on the board, right? So what happens if this load was pick up before 9 o'clock? You know, we can't get there. Or what happens if we call on this load and, oh, it's already taken, right? So we end up always getting the best case scenario when we're looking at the board and just hypothetically taking load after load after load after load because we don't have any times where, oh, that load's taken, or you can't make the appointment, or whatever. You call on it and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you can't pick up until tomorrow, or oh, by the way, it's a drop trailer and we didn't mention it in the posting, you know, or you got to go drop the trailer for 24 hours. So oftentimes these numbers come in a little better. So if we, 211, if we drop that down even 11 cents, it brings us into $2. If we drop it down even into the $1.90, but I'm thinking you might be able to do okay. Now the question is too, let's say we break that up into 2 weeks. So say that took exactly 2 weeks. That would be 2,100 miles per week. That's doable, totally doable. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 loads. So you could do 7 loads, and they were all, the longest one was 597 loaded for a 100-mile deadhead. So that was basically a 700-mile all-in. And that was the first one we did, the South Carolina to Florida. And then the next one was almost 700 miles again up to Kentucky. Oh, wait a minute, no. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The first one to Florida was 500 miles all in with everything. And then coming out of Florida to Nashville, that was almost 700. And then Kentucky down to Mobile was almost 700. So yeah, so these 7 loads you could certainly do as far as the mileage is concerned in 2 weeks, because that's 2,100 miles in a week. We almost hit $9,000. So if you divide that by 2 weeks, that's $4,500 a week. So this was able to keep pretty high on the rate per mile, but our revenue wasn't very good. Now, theoretically, we should have been able to fit one more load in here in a 2-week period. Because 2,100 miles in the week's pretty low. We should be able to get up to 23, 2,500, 2,800 even in the week. So so this probably would have been done closer to a week and a half, a little under 2 weeks, probably not 2 full weeks. But if we do that at $4,500 a week times 4 weeks, that's $18,000 a month. That's getting down pretty low, guys, because once you cover all your expenses, and once you pay for your insurance, and once you pay for your trailer rent, once you pay for driver salary if you have one, and if you don't have a driver salary, if you're the owner, you still have to pay your mortgage back home. You still have to pay your car payment back home. You still have to buy food for wife and kids back home. So it's not like you can't take a driver salary. You have to take a driver salary pretty equal to what you'd have to pay a driver. You might be able to cut your salary, down to bare bones, but you got to take something home, right, guys? So anyway, I think you guys understand what's going on there. The dry van market's still pretty tight. I think if you're wise at it and you understand what you're doing, you can probably do okay. I am encouraged with what's going on in our marketplace. It seems like we're getting into a spot where we're losing enough capacity quick enough where we might start to see some improvements. But the dry van market is not improving. It went down from last week. It was sitting at $1.70 and then last week it went up to $1.72, and now it's back down to $1.70. So that's not good. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, guys. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff. This is the same type of stuff I do for the flatbed stuff, but this is just dry van, and I'm a little unsure of the dry van market. We probably should have looked in dry van in the Midwest, which is the best dry van market in the country. Probably not in the South. This was all in the South, unfortunately. The highest we went was Kentucky. So let me know what you guys think. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, I real quickly put this together based on what we just did with this mock test. So 211 a mile. We did we did 4,200 miles for 2 weeks. We're assuming, so we could do 8,400 miles per month, and so that puts us under $18,000 a month. And this is what your budget might look like if you're an owner operator doing this exact schedule. Again, we talked about how the 211 might be best case scenario because this is a mock test and we're taking every load no matter if it's something wrong with it. I mean, I try to look and make sure there's nothing wrong with it on the notes, but sometimes you can't know. But this would be if you're paying a driver or taking 70 cents per mile home for you as the owner, or if you're paying a driver. This is if you have a $1,400 a month truck payment, no trailer payment, $900 per month insurance. That's about what my insurance cost me for truck and trailer combination. IRP, this is your plates and your load board subscription, dock fees. I put that in there for something else. So this is driver payroll. So if you're paying a driver 70 cents a mile, you will be paying payroll taxes of about $880. About 15% of what you pay the driver excess will, 15% more will go to taxes. And then this is your $22.90 divided out by the month. So these are all your fixed costs over here. And then this over here is your tires, your brakes, oil changes. That needs to be a little higher, $650. And in my pack cars, I go about 60,000 miles between oil changes. It costs about $650 to get that done between oil and filters and everything. This is truck wash. We're going to drop this down to 800 because we had it set for 11,000 mile months. So let's drop this back down to 88, or wait a minute, what did I do, 84. So we're going to put $900 a month into an account for breakdowns and $120 to wash the truck once a month. That's, we prefer to wash the truck a little more often, but you got to put something in there. And that's if you're getting 9.2 miles to the gallon and you're spending $3.20 on fuel. And this is without a lease fee. So this would be as if you have your own authority. Let's put a lease fee in there of 10%. And so that would be with a lease fee, with a factoring fee, which is my rate, and that's the scheduled maintenance. That pulls from over here. That's the 7.7 cents. That rounds up to 18 cents. So 4 cents per mile for factoring, and then 21 cents per mile for a lease fee, and then fuel cost is 35 cents per mile. And that's our total, fluctuating costs, everything added up. So basically this is saying if you're paying a driver and if you're leased to a company that charges 10%, and if you did the run that we just did, you might be able to see a company profit of $1,800, $17.99. So, or 21 cents per mile. So it's pretty slim out there, guys. This would also be paying the driver 70 cents per mile. That's a pretty good driver wage. But keep in mind, we had low mileage. So if we have that low of mileage, basically we're figuring $2,100 per week. That's pretty low mileage for most drivers. Most drivers want to be up around the 28 to 3,000 miles a week, simply because they want money, right? So if you're going to do the short miles, you're better pay better. That's only $6,000 a month coming into the driver. That's a pretty weak driver salary, to be honest with you. It probably should be increased to 75 cents a mile. Then we're at least over $6,000 per month. Again, this would be kind of a situation where we're getting into very, very low miles, higher rate because we've kept it short. At 75 cents a mile to the driver, we're down at the 16 cents a mile profit margin, guys. That is pretty tight, because if we have more breakdowns than $900 a month, we could start, because this is honestly always just a guess. How much money we're going to spend in breakdowns for in repairs, that's really just a guess. So yeah, that gives you an idea. The company profit yearly would only be $15,000. That's not enough to start replacing equipment, and this would be assuming you have a paid for van trailer. Now this is assuming you have a truck payment. So let's say you bought a paid for truck. Now we start to have a company profit of $32,000 if you put half of that, $16,000, into a fund to buy you a new truck, and you run a couple of years of that, and you take $16,000 as company profit and you put $16,000 into truck replacement, which would basically be pretty similar to having a $1,400 truck payment, right? If you had a $1,400 truck payment and you just always assume to have, when one truck gets paid off, if you do a 3-year note, one truck gets paid off, you buy another one that roughly is $1,400, and then you just always have a truck payment for $1,400. This could be your company profit, $15,000 per year. So you see where you start to need more than one truck to be any sort of to replace your income. So anyway, hope you guys like this little budget sheet here. I think that it's possible to do the dry van. It's just very, very tight, and you gotta nail a few things. You've got to get fuel mileage high. You've got to buy fuel right. You've got to understand how to keep your costs low. And again, we were pretty high on the rate, but that's because we were low on the miles. So we might be able to do $2 a mile and maybe get up to 95. We actually got less profit then. So we got to get up to, let's say, 10,000. Yeah, we drop 11 cents in the rate, and we've got to get up over 11,000 miles per month to equal what we did for that 11 cents. It's amazing what that a few cent per mile will do, huh? All right, that's the end of this one. Let me know if you guys like this.